Welcome back to the Best Coaster of the Year weekly series. It's been a little bit. Sorry, it's not like really a weekly series anymore. But anyway, last month, you guys voted for the Best Coaster of 2000. You were given five choices this time around just because there were so many good coasters here. And you voted for Money and Force over at Cedar Point, that Intamin Giga that everybody loves. Well, not everybody. You kind of have to love it, though. I mean, come on. It's just such a good ride. But, obviously, there are plenty of things that, can do certain things better. But it's just such a fun ride. And you just feel so happy on this ride. It's just a really happy ride. But yeah, so this defeated another Intamin, Big Intamin, and Intamin Hyper over at Six Flags New England to better to Steel. Another pretty solid ride with some similar elements. Kind of a lot more going on there, I feel like. Um, Obviously, it's not a Giga, though. It's 100 feet below this, but there's still you got probably a little bit more ejector and still the same floater. You guys got that it happens hill. But of course, the current restraints aren't very good apparently. But that's current. When Ride of Steel opened, I'm sure it was incredible. So there's that. I also beat Boulder Dash at Lake Compounds. That is the crazy cool CCI that goes along with the terrain out in Connecticut by Lake Compounds. At very cool ride for sure. Crazy laterals, airtime going on there. There's that double up sort of deal. Not designed by Alan Schilke. Who the hell said that? Katoon at Maribolandia, very solid B&M invert in Italy. One of the best, easily top four B&M invert. And but it's really just down to personal preference. You prefer an intense whippy ride or a really floaty, graceful speed demon ride like Millennium Force. Also, Legend of Holiday World, pretty similar to Boulder Dash in some ways. It's got those balls to the walls laterals, some airtime in there. But yeah, so moving on, we've got Millennium Force. I can agree with this. I mean, really, it's just ride that everybody likes, and you kind of have to vote for it in this kind of capacity. So yeah, all right. Moving on is the best coaster of 2001. You're going to vote for one of these four coasters in the top right corner of the video. We've got Colossus at Heidi Park, the Intamin Prefab, the Donpa, before they added the loop. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with, if I include the loop separately in 2018 or 17, whenever it opened. But you're going to vote for it with the top hat, like the one that's pictured here. And that's at Fuji Q Highland. It's the SNS Air Launch Coaster. We've got Cornwall Express at Indiana Beach, the CCI Bus Bar, Woody, and Expedition G-Force at Holiday Park, the Intamin Mega Coaster. So you're going to vote for one of those four coasters on the top right corner of the video. And I'll see you guys after this, after like 15 more minutes of content, probably. We got some more coasters that opened in 2001 that weren't quite good enough to make the cut, but were good enough to force me to talk about them. We got Batwing at Six Flags America, a coaster that's received some attention recently after it's been closed for a lot of the season because, well, maintenance on these Flying Dutchmen are not very kind, not very convenient, expensive parts. I'm sure Vekoma is not really supplying parts for these things anymore just because they haven't made them in 15 years or more. But it's interesting how it's like kind of in its own corner of the park. Six Flags America is just so weird, man. It's just a really weird park, but it still looks like a solid park. But I don't know, it's just weird how there's Joker's Jinx, and then there's Superman, but there's nothing in between them. It's just one ride and another ride, and they're in their own little corner. It's interesting. I don't know. That's just kind of the way I should stop talking. California Screamin'. I'm not gonna stop talking for like 15 minutes, but California Screamin' at Disney's California Adventure. That is, of course, now Incredicoaster, but California Screamin' is that's the original, and it is a very interesting Intamin not hyper, very long Intamin ride. Basically, it's got a few launches in there. It's got some up a hill launch, and interesting stuff going on. There's one airtime moment, maybe a few where you might get airtime, and of course, this is that vertical loop that's actually pretty intense and also a little rough. That's what I've heard, but it still looks like a very fun ride, a very long ride. That's how I respect it a lot. Cheetah at Wild Adventures, pictured on the top right. That is one of the the newest CCIs to ever open because it came out in 2001. Most of the rides were like 90s to 2000. And yeah, this is just like a pretty straightforward out and back. Does a helix in there, and it sucks because it's got these Gerstlauer trains, which are just the roughest things ever. and just a very uncomfortable ride, I've heard. And GCI has done some retracking, but it doesn't seem to help at all, really. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, moving on. Deja Vu at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Great America over Georgia. That's right. Six Flags opened three of these Deja Vus in 2001, and that's obviously the giant inverted boomerang. I'll tell you what happened to all three of them. The one at Magic Mountain was relocated to New England as um, Goliath. That's still around. Great Americas was relocated to Silverwood as Aftershock, and Over Georgia's was relocated to Brazil, where it may or may not ever open ever again at some park named Mirabilandia that isn't the one in Italy. Very interesting. Um, yeah, Deja Vu, solid little rides. Especially Aftershock currently. Goliath, not really. I'm not sure what's going on there, but yeah, Hot Wheels Sidewinder at Dream World was one of the newest Aero Loopers to ever open. That's of course. Wait, did it actually open in this year? Oh no, it was relocated. Oh, see, I'm pretty smart, guys. Just letting you know. Um, so like I usually don't include relocations on this, but I because Tennessee Tornado was the newest one that ever opened, so it must have been relocated. Okay. Anyway, this has a reverse sidewinder, which means it like starts as a sidewinder and then does the half loop. So like does a half corkscrew to a half loop. Sidewinders are just like a half loop into a half corkscrew. So that's interesting. And it's kind of a rougher ride. It does a lot of turns that are not very friendly. Um, but pretty solid theming. Those trains look nice. Yeah, Hypersonic XLC is right there next to Dodonpa as the S&S Air Launch Coaster that opened this year. It does the same top hat, or did, closed in 2007. Did the same top hat and then didn't do anything else after that. So that's pretty cool. Insane Speed at Jeff Foods, yeah, that park in Taiwan. That's a B&M floorless. Pretty standard one. It's very similar to Batman Dark Knight at New England. Does a vertical loop, 0G roll. Pretty sure dive loop or Immelman into interlocking corkscrew. So kind of straightforward. And then, but what isn't straightforward? It's Jungle Storm at Chakazulu Indoor Theme Park in Kuwait, I believe. This thing is just insane. It's a PAX, and oh man, this thing. Bannister was like, if more kids rode this thing, it'd be ranking very high for them. And he's probably right. The POVs look just insane. Like, you get some crazy laterals. These turns are just nuts. Definitely look it up and check out Off Ride or On Ride, whatever. More coasters. We got some more coasters from 2001. Loop Garou at Wallaby, Belgium opened this year. I always loved the look of that turnaround. How it doesn't like do a weird bank. It's just one smooth bank all the way around. I'm sure the Lidos are interesting on those. Um, just kind of a cyclone style layout ride over at Wallaby, Belgium. I'd imagine it could get RMC pretty soon because they are RMC the one at oh, wait a minute. Is that Loop Garou is at Wallaby, Belgium. The one they're RMCing Robin Hood at Wallaby, Holland. That's right. Okay, got that right. Nitro at Six Flags. Great. Wait, that doesn't feel right to me. I don't know. Nitro at you can correct me in the comments below. Nitro. I'll say it again. B&M Hyper at Great Adventure. I've heard it's one of the weaker B&M Hypers, but I've also heard you can get airtime. I'm sure the best part of the ride is that helix, that upward helix. It looks really solid. You hit that thing so hard and just man, it looks pretty cool. But I hear it usually runs pretty slow, and you might not even get floater on it, or very, very little floater. Um, no trims ever on this thing, but I don't know. That's just what I've heard. Also, the colors are just disgusting. Yellow and blue. Oh God! Like, okay, I hate the Michelin Wolverines, but still, oh, Quicksilver Express. That is, of course, the Morgan like little mine train sort of terrain thing over at Gilroy Gardens, which is a Cedar Fair park. It's operated by Cedar Fair, not really owned, I don't think. But very cool little family park, very cool little ride. Check out a point of view, unique layout through the terrain, interesting stuff. Screaming Condor at Liu Fu Village. That is one of those twisted spike instrument impulses. So like you're possessed, your steel venom, your V2, your vertical velocity, your you know. It's like one of those, except it's in Asia, which is crazy. It's gray and brown in that image. Very interesting. Probably a ride that nobody even knows about, really. So that's pretty rad. Talon at Dorney Park opened this year. That's a B&M invert that does some interesting things. it was probably the first like tamer BM ever made. As in like it doesn't have the insanely snappy elements. It's all about being smooth and nice, and they did a pretty good job making it pretty smooth. Like because think Katoon opened the year before that thing's just insane, snaps everywhere and awesomeness. And Talon's just kind of floaty and graceful and nice, and you know. I'm definitely more of the snappier kind of guy, but if you like yourself some Talon, then great. I hear it's the smoothest BNM infert around. It's also the quietest one probably because they fill sand. They filled these ports with sand. I heard to get rid of the noise. So that's interesting. Thunder Coaster at Tusenfrid opened this year as well. That is a Vekoma wooden coaster. It received Timberlander trains recently. Very weird twister layout. The second drop's taller than the first, if I recall correctly. And I heard it got pretty rough already because the Timberlanders, man. Like when I rode Kukul and the Timberlanders, kind of brought out the roughness in the ride. But still, I'm sure it's a pretty solid ride. Blizzard has some really solid airtime actually in there toward the end, if I remember correctly. I haven't looked at roller coasters in a while, honestly. And school's been kind of kicking my ass, and college apps are finally done, so I can kind of hang on. But yeah, Titan at Six Flags over Texas. That is, I didn't capitalize the O. Man, that bugs me. I made these slides like 2 weeks ago when I was kind of not doing college apps. I just doing this really quick, and I haven't looked at this in a while. Titan at Over Texas, that is, of course, Guy Vanola Hyper, which, unlike Goliath at Magic Mountain, this one's better because it is a helix before in the mid-course, so it's pretty insane every time, and man, that helix looks just incredible. Like, oh man, like, they don't let you re-ride Titan because of how intense it is. Like, you're going to blackout. I want to blackout one of these days on that thing. It looks insane. Tornado at Sarkanyemi, that is that coaster there in the bottom middle. That thing, very interesting ride. Think of Volcano the Blast Coaster, except a more standard layout, but still with the Heartline rules. So it's like if B&M made a Heartline roll Intamin, kind of, because it does the vertical loop, it does the Cobra roll, and then it does two Heartline rolls, one of which is right next to the station, which is very cool. Like you see it go right next to you in the station. Very, very awkward, but really cool ride. Here's a little rattly, unfortunately, but you just gotta respect this thing. It's just so cool how it does the two Heartline rolls, and it like penetrates the loop. I'm sorry, that was funny from the Encyclopedia Roller Coaster. Just check that out. All right, even more. There's even more, guys. Crazy 2001 roller coasters. Tower of Terror at Gold Rush City. That's on the right there. Very weird ride. It's got an elevator lift up to a vertical drop that twists a little bit, and then boom, 6.3 Gs of force. That's right, it is the most G force on a roller coaster ever, really, probably. Probably only sustained for like a split second, but just, man, that force must be awesome. And it's a very short ride. It's just the drop, and then it does a little turn into the station again. But very weird ride. It's like probably what 150 feet tall, built into an abandoned mine shaft, I believe. And Tower of Terror, really cool. Trace du Hurrah or something like that at Parc Asterix. That's over near Paris. It's like the Six Flags of Disneyland Paris, kind of. This is the park with Goodrich, the worst coaster of all time, with the McDonald's colors. But yeah, this is a bobsled. One of the newest bobsleds to ever open. I believe it's by Mack, and pretty all right looking bobsled. Kind of like, I feel like all these bobsleds have such standard layouts. The one that's the most unique to me is either Avalanche at Blackpool, or the one in Europa, which is Bob, I think, because it does like an actual drop on Bob. Bob, we love Bob. Very cool. Vertical velocity at Six Flags Great America and or Discovery Kingdom. Well, not really, and Discovery Kingdom. Two vertical velocities over the same year. Of course, Great American one is still operating in its same in the normal state. No holding brake on that, but of course that's just a twist and spike impulse. And then Discovery Kingdom, which I only typed in Discover. See, I did not proofread this one like I usually do. But that one opened normally, had the holding brake and everything, and then like a year later they were like, bro, there's a height limit, and they're like, bro, I know. Yeah, we'll lower that. So they got Intamin to get some weird track, and they repainted it red, and they made the twist part of the impulse like, I don't know, 45 degrees or so like slanted down. It's just so wonky, and but it works, and it's a roller coaster that you can ride, and it kind of inverts, I guess, right? Because if it's 45 degrees and you're upside down, it's just a much weirder impulse coaster, and it's very cool. And that's something I want to experience because it seems like it's closing like constantly. Because I'm sure maintenance and those things are not fun. So, all right, Wildspire at Silver Dollar City also opened this year. That's B&M Sit Down in the Ozark Hills, and it is a very interesting ride. And it's a sit down and not a floorless, built in the era of floorless coasters because all the floorlesses seem to open in like 2000 or so. But this one was a sit down, so similar to Kumba, and then there is a floor, and just a really cool ride. It like overlooks all the hills, and it's very cool. It actually starts with a dive loop, and then does the vertical loop, then a cobra roll, then the corkscrew. It's kind of a shorter ride. There's no mid course, and I recall the cobra roll is kind of wonky. It's a little wonkier than normal. It goes a little more outward. It's kind of like Hydra's, but not as extreme of an outward cobra roll. I don't know. Okay. Also, X Flight at Jogga Lake. That is, of course, now Firehawk, which closed a few days ago, or like what, 5 days ago. Jeez, time's flying, man. And that was originally at Jogga Lake. It was green, and actually, you could kind of see the green paint on Firehawk just because of just wear and tear of the red paint. You could see the green paint from X Flight occasionally, which was pretty cool. And just a pretty solid Flying Dutchman, similar to Batwing. It's the exact same layout, actually. The one that doesn't have the same layout is Nighthawk, in that there are corkscrews instead of uh, the two rolls at the end, which I hear are pretty terrible on Nighthawk. But not on X Flight is very cool. Well, X Flight is confusing just because there's a new X Flight at Great America, but this is the one at Kings Island, which just closed. RIP Firehawk. I'm glad I got on it. Yeah, so that's all. Thanks for watching. Wow, I feel like my commentary was pretty terrible today. I'm sorry, guys. Have a great day.